welcome to the Royal Society of Biology's Outreach and Engagement Awards ceremony, part of Biology Week. We're 4 days into Biology Week. It's the 2nd till the 10th of October, and whoever you are, whether you're new to the world of biology and thinking maybe you might be interested in a bit, whether you've been in it a million years, or if you, like me, are technically a failed biologist, there is something for you in Biology Week. My name's Steve Cross. I'm your host for this event. To make it feel more for me like a proper awards ceremony hosted by a learned society, I have had 2 cups of room temperature white wine in plastic cups before we started. I had them in a corridor so that I felt like I was at a real academic event. Today we are announcing the winners of the Royal Society of Biology's Outreach and Engagement Awards. These awards have been around for quite a few years now, and it's very exciting that I can see a number of our previous winners in the attendees. Lovely to see you, previous winners, and better luck next time, people who applied and didn't quite make it. We got 2 amazing researchers for you to meet today, because we have 2 categories. We have a new researcher category, which is for people who are quite early in their career, just starting to make communicating biology part of the way they do research. And then we have a leadership award for more established researchers and people who aren't just kind of blowing their own trumpet, but are out there trying to raise biology right across society with their colleagues and with lots and lots and lots of other researchers. Now, the way this is going to work is you're going to see talks from each of our 2 winners, and then we're going to have a bit of a panel session Q&A. So if any questions occur to you for any of our speakers at any time, you can post them through Zoom's Q&A function. I won't ask them till the formal Q&A, but I'll ask them in the formal Q&A, unless I don't think the answers will be very good, in which case I won't ask them. But I'm sure that you're all wonderfully clever, intelligent people that will ask brilliant questions all about the research that our winners do and also the outreach and engagement that they've done. Anyway, I'm a failed biologist. It's time you met the real, actual, successful biologists. So I'm going to introduce to you the winner of our new researcher category. If you were watching on Twitter yesterday, you will have seen her name go out. And if you've watched YouTube and watched any of the biology channels on there, you may well have seen her. The winner of our new research category is Elizabeth Mills from the University of Dundee. She's a PhD student, so still very, very, very early in her career. And partly she's won it for her amazing YouTube work, but she's also done it for lots of the workshops that she does around it and all the ways in which she's trying to reach out to audiences who wouldn't normally engage with biology. And one of the things I love about Elizabeth's work is she does it on the terms of the audiences she's trying to reach. So all of your favorite YouTube formats, reaction videos, unboxings, all those sorts of things, you can find them all with a marine biology twist on Elizabeth's YouTube channel. Elizabeth, are you there? I know Elizabeth's had some tech problems. Elizabeth, would you like to talk to our wonderful audience?
Yes, of course.
So hold on one second, Elizabeth. Wherever you are, audience, I realise this seems a bit weird, but just to make it feel like we're having a real event, and even though Elizabeth can't hear you, I'd just like you to give a big round of applause as you welcome to the stage the winner of our new researcher category, Elizabeth Mills.
Thanks so much. I'll start sharing my screen to the sound of applause run. So, my name is Elizabeth. I am a marine biologist and science communicator, so you might know me under my, I suppose, stage name of Marine Mumbles. And I'm going to be talking about my rock and roll approach to engagement. You're going to need to, I suppose, guess as we go along why I'm choosing rock and roll. It's not quite to my music tastes, but hopefully you'll get it by the end. So I am a marine biologist, a YouTuber, a scientific artist, a science communicator, and an engineer. Yes, I know that's me wearing a lot of hats, but that's lucky because I also collect novelty caps, so it kind of all works together. I've gained some of these titles from me doing my PhD, and this is what my PhD is on, but don't panic, don't be scared. This is a scary, long-winded, minorly boring, even though it's my project, academic paragraph about what I do. I'm including this because if there's any scientists out there watching, I want to share how I take a very, very specific subject that could be deemed as quite complex and take that to change how we do engagement and impact to a much broader and hopefully much more impactful way, but still sharing this project. So in much easier terms, this is what my project is. I study all of the things that live on human-made surfaces. So basically, whenever we put a surface in the sea, that could be the bottom of a ship, a bit of concrete, all of the lovely things that you find rock pooling, like anemones and barnacles and seaweeds, there's just so many to choose from, all can decide to live on the bottom of ships on these surfaces. But then ships move, they travel around the world, and when they get to other places, if it's suitable, these species jump off their hitchhike journey or spawn and become part of that harbour environment, and they live in this new place. And they can use this as a way to jump onto different places. So they can go into our natural environments in that area. But because they're not used to it, because these native species, the species that usually live in there and haven't travelled on ships, aren't used to this new species coming in, it can actually cause big economic and environmental problems that can threaten ecosystems. So I'm asking, can we change the surface of this concrete? Because just like you and me, when we pick a new home, we have likes and dislikes to stop this happening. But really, when we look at all of the things happening in the ocean, all the wonderful, exciting things, all of the problems that the ocean are facing, my research is a teeny, weeny little droplet of information. I'm asking people as a scientist to care about what grows on concrete in harbours in a very specific location. And people aren't really going to become interested in that or understand it fully, because there's all this other stuff going on, and really, I don't blame them. So I need to look at my research in a much different way. But what is great about getting to that point, for me to get to a project of this tiny droplet of information, I've had to learn so much. I've had to learn about all these different things, from climate change to engineering to currents to marine identification. And all of this, I have the power to teach other people. And instead of telling them to focus on that thing that grows on concrete, we can actually use a very rock and roll method. And I focused my engagement on rock pooling. And rock pooling is a great way to share what I'm doing, because not only is it impacted by all the things that I said on that slide, it's a great way to form an instant connection. If you went rock pooling as a kid, you'll remember hunting for crabs or slipping on slimy seaweed and immediately feel a connection to that science. Or if you've never been before, if you go for the first time or watch any of my videos, I guarantee you'll fall in love with these charismatic creatures, and therefore get involved in the science. And what is great as well is that you can see this for the price of a pair of wellies. And that's so different to some of the other things. Unless you can learn scuba diving, unless you can go in a submarine, or you can spontaneously grow gills, you can't hold the ocean at your fingertips unless you go rock pooling. And anything that we can do to increase the accessibility in science and decrease kind of the financial barriers to getting into science, the better, and it can only be a good thing. But we can't just chuck this information at everyone. I can't just tell them all of the things I know I've learned throughout my scientific research career. We have to do it in stages, and we have to do it well. So this is my kind of way that I have built my plan up around and built how I do things. So I want to start off by providing people with easy access to science that is clearly explained. This should hopefully be a lot of my YouTube channel. I have posted over 175 videos of marine content that you can access as long as you have access to YouTube, which a lot of people around the world do. But as well as that, I've used social media and just wanted to provide an environment of inclusion and confidence to ask questions, because I want people to feel involved in the science. It really is like a joint journey. I want to provide people with not just the knowledge, but the tools and ways that they can ask questions and carry on their curiosity. Because I honestly think that science starts with just a curious question. Why does that crab run? What color is that seaweed? Why does this do this? Why are the tides there? And giving people the confidence and the knowledge to ask those questions and then follow them up, to be curious and go find out what that is fantastic. So ideally, after that, you want to be providing people with even more science for them to look at. And I hope to do this on my channel. I think that whether you're a child or an adult, going on my YouTube channel, you will learn right from the basics all the way up to an expert level. And I'm providing people with that access, because at the end of the day, what I want is people to be inspired to take educated action on what they are learning. It's not particularly my job to turn around and be like, you need to become a scientist or you need to do this. What I'm giving you is the tools to make an informed decision. If you want to become a scientist, marine biologist, that's fantastic. If you don't, that's great too, but I'm giving you the options to make that educated choice. So I'm hoping that all of the things that I'm doing is leading to that so that you can live your life and know how you're affecting the ocean and make action changes for that. And then what's great again is that when I go back and tell people about my research, they have this ocean of knowledge already there. So I'm adding my little droplet of scientific information, but the people I'm telling have all of this knowledge, the stuff that I have learned to understand just how important I think my research is. And suddenly that drop of information becomes a lot more impactful, but also has had a lot more impact through what I have taught. I want to talk about how I'm doing this by engaging online. I've done a lot of online engagement. Yes, that is because of the pandemic, but I started my online engagement years earlier. And I just think it's a great way to have accessibility around the world and reach much larger audiences. So I started marinemumbles.com, hence the name Marine Mumbles, about 6 years ago, when I was in my undergrad, because I just wanted to write blogs and do scientific art, which I find really fun and interesting. A great way to impact people. But since then it has expanded, and now I have this ID guide online for people to use. Instead of looking at the taxonomic evolutionary way that marine biologists usually share, I've split it down, used art and description so that you can go out and find the species rock pooling and then come to my site and know exactly what it is. It will lead you to all the videos I've made on it, blog posts, and there's nearly 1,000 pictures that I have taken that I think are pretty cool of all of these species too, which are just nice to look at. I then, about 3 years ago, expanded to Marine Mumbles on YouTube because I just wanted a way to like talk and draw people in. And I haven't missed a week since. I post every single Wednesday and haven't missed a video, which means there's a massive catalogue of marine goodness on my YouTube channel with over 175 videos growing all of the time. And we do some really fun stuff over there. I've gone rock pooling on shipwrecks. This is me. I do like creature breakdowns, and this is me impersonating a starfish, and actually they're quite evil, so you're going to have to go and check that video out to work out why. I have my own documentary series called When the Tide Retreats. This one was about kelp, and it's talking about really important matters in that. I do a lot of global rock pooling, so people from around the world send me what they've found and I talk about it. And in this particular series, I'm talking with someone, I rock pooled at almost the same time, give or take the time difference, and compared what we found in California to Scotland. I do art tutorials, or I draw parts of the ocean that we can't reach ourselves. I go and draw with illustrators and on my own in different aquariums around the country, just as a way to, it's just fun, really. It's also very educational, but that one is just really fun. I teach people just how much amazing life there is. I go and vlog all my rock pooling trips. But in this particular one, I taught people to learn how to identify stuff. And there was over 50 species, 50 in one single rock pool. That is how awesome intertidal areas are and why I can use rock pooling to teach so much. And if you go over there, I'm sure you will learn how to find 50 species by yourself. I've taught people how to do things safely, how to rock pool safely, how to hold a crab safely so that you don't get pinched, and neither does Mr. Crab. And maybe one of my favorite videos, I dressed up as a ghost and walked along the beach, but actually this is a blackout curtain, and I took this blackout curtain and used a UV torch so you can see glow in the dark rock pooling creatures. So Marine Mumbles also does live workshops. I'm not talking about myself in third person then, sorry, I was talking more about the channel. Live workshops, and this is a great way to combine science with art as we kind of make like pop-ups and dissections and all of these different things. And it's for adults and kids, but really adults too. Like, you're never too old for a pop-up book. I will argue that for ages. But this particular one, I did a dissection that I'd done as part of my PhD. I took the video of the dissection and we made it in art form, and we dissected through the art so that people can learn the anatomy of different creatures, and they don't have to have the scientific knowledge, the knife, the creature. It's all far more accessible that you can do from your home, all through this one workshop. I also use a lot of social media. I'm Marine Mumbles Shock on Twitter and Instagram. And I just found we have the most supportive community over there. If you're looking for sciencey goodness, positivity, ocean things, come and join my social media community. It's great over there. And what I found what's great is challenges. Every October I run Rock Polaroid, which is when we post different artworks we to do with art things. We had over 300 pieces of artwork created. It's running this month right now. It's not too late for you to join in. You can join in for one day, or you can join in for the whole month. And you just have to put the piece of art out there with hashtag Rock Polaroid 2021 and follow the days along. And it's just a great fun challenge. I'm posting loads of facts and loads of artwork myself, so go and check that out. I've also done some in-person engagement, which I want to talk about quickly. I am a scientist that works in engineering and marine biology, and as that I have been in a male-dominated field, I feel it's very important for me to talk about my experience as a woman in science, technology, engineering and maths. So I have videos on my channel talking about that in more detail. I also have this really fun challenge called Make Your Own Marine Monster. And I've done this with school kids and science festivals around Scotland. And it's when I get to teach people really complex, like how things eat and how they move and their ecology and their physiology and their morphology and all of the ologies. And I then tell people to take, the favorite way they move, the favorite way they protect themselves, and create a creature. And then they have to come up with a really, really cool name. And I just want to point out what might be one of my favorites is this kid was giggling so much because although other people were calling it like star snail, so starfish and sea snail, he called his butt and wrote it nice and big so that when I took a picture, everyone would see. So I just, still making me laugh now. So as a scientist, I've got to learn all of these amazing things, all of these different skills, and I've got to teach all of these different things to different people. But it's a long road, and anyone looking to get into it or looking to get into science, start and just keep going. I think I could get to the end of my life and still think that there's so much more to share. And I've taught all of this stuff over many years, so don't feel like you have to jump in straight away. But there is one thing that we can all do that is just really great in science communication and has a real impact. And you think it's just a small thing, but actually can help change, I hope, people's perceptions of science and their lives. So I want to end with 2 encounters that I've had. One with an adult. I was in my rock pooling gear, ready to go out, and they came up to me and was like, don't bother going out there. I've lived near this beach my whole life. Literally no sea life lives here. It's terrible for sea life. And the other was a young child that was doing the Make Your Marine Monster and wanted to do it, was really excited with the colouring, but then I said it's about science. They went, oh no, I'm no good at science. I can't do this activity. Within the space of 5 minutes, I had changed the opinions of both these people. I provided a safe space where they could ask me questions and talk about things. I sat down with the kid and said, no, and talk them through, let them ask questions. And they actually stayed with me throughout the entire rest of the science festival, asking these amazing questions, doing these amazing drawings. And I hope that person went away and just felt that they could do science, because it's heartbreaking to me that at the age of 9, people have this perception. And I will, for the rest of my career, try and break that down and say, science is for everyone, and it can be for you. And the other one, I explained and showed them my YouTube channel and was like, no, look at all the life. And they left feeling proud of the marine environment that they lived near, whereas before they felt quite strongly that it wasn't very good. And doing that can really have an impact. And that's the basis, the start of science communication. And I hope you have enjoyed this presentation. I've really enjoyed giving it, and I'm looking forward to the Q&A, and just, thank you for this award.
You can't hear everybody else applauding, but you can hear me applauding at least. Elizabeth, that was wonderful. Can I ask you a quick tip based on your massive knowledge of beach and rock pool life? So I'm a dad, and one of the things, we communicate science for many different reasons. One of the things I like to do is make other dads think that I'm a much better dad than them. So next time I am down a beach or near a rock pool I've got 2 toddlers, is there anything that I could do with them or show them that would make other dads be like, oh wow, how did he even think of that? He is the greatest dad in the world. You got any suggestions?
I think that actually the life right at the top of the rock pool is really cool, because it's the bit that's out the longest. So all the stuff that lives up there is all of like the little creatures, the little babies that want to like stay away from the big scary predators. So actually just like ignoring like at the start, especially if you've got young toddlers and you don't want to go all the way trekking all the way out. Just stick to the first couple of rock pools and
Hmm.
just stare in, and I guarantee you'll find at least 2 or 3 species of baby fish that you can point out, and they'll be well hidden. So if you just
Amazing.
time it right when someone walks past and be like, oh, look at that, that's you know
Yeah. Might buy one of those cheap amplifying lenses to put on my phone so that it makes the picture bigger as well. So just as
yeah, there
another
you
dad
go.
walks past, I can be like, of course, this is the baby of the
Yes.
species. Brilliant. And I'll use
Yeah.
your guide to find out what it's a baby of. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I've got to introduce the winner of our Leadership Award. Used to be known as the Established Researcher Award until we recognised that people can lead from loads of different places. And the winner of this award is Andreia de Almeida. Andreia is from Cardiff University, where she's a postdoctoral research associate, which is still, I mean, for an established researcher, that's pretty early career. You know, the tradition used to be that people started doing outreach and engagement when they were a professor and nearing retirement, and they didn't really have much research to do. But one of the things we've seen over the last 10 years of these awards has been this amazing growth of people doing public engagement right through their whole career. Now, Andrea's outreach and engagement CV is incredible. I would urge you to go and have a look at her website. There's a whole variety of different projects, all very, very creative and all very led by the things that her audience cares about. The thing that really took my breath away was the idea that she was going to go and communicate her research not to people who already love biology, but to people who love fashion, and work with them, work with textile students to create science-themed fashion. It's amazing. Anyway, I'll let her tell you about it because she's absolutely wonderful. So, lovely people, you're all going to, wherever you are, just like we did for Elizabeth, we're going to give a big round of applause to Andreia as she comes forward to tell you all about the things she's interested in.
I hope you can all see my slides. First of all, I want to thank the Royal Society of Biology for the award, and well done, Elizabeth, too. And it was a lovely talk we just heard. And I'm going to be talking about my own journey with public engagement. But first, I want to start by telling you a little bit about me and how I started. So I'm Portuguese, and I'm from a city that's called Almada. And it's just across the river from Lisbon. If you've been to Lisbon or if you've seen pictures of it online, you might recognize it as the place that has the Christ facing Lisbon. It's also where I studied, and this was the campus where I studied, which was very close to the beach, which is not too bad, if you ask me. And I graduated with both bachelor's and master's in biochemistry. And this was before I moved to the Netherlands, to a small city in the very north of the Netherlands called Groningen. That is not as sunny as it appears here in these pictures. They are very deceiving. And back in those days, science communication really wasn't much of a thing. I did participate in the odd open day here and there, but there weren't many people and there weren't many opportunities to do science communication at all. So I channeled all my energy I had into creating images. And initially they were for myself, for my own research, because as a visual learner, I learn the best when I have very nice, engaging images. And I always try to have images in my own research and my own presentations that were very engaging and eye-catching. But it was very frustrating to not be able to find those. So I had to create my own. So as a student, I didn't really have access or could afford any fancy software. And also remember, I started my undergrad in 2005. That's the same year YouTube was created. So there was no YouTube. There were no tutorials on how to use fancy software. So basically what I used was PowerPoint. So believe it or not, this whole microscope was made in PowerPoint. And if you don't believe me, here's proof of all the little bits that compose this microscope on a PowerPoint slide. I then learned how to make animations to make my presentations more engaging. And I moved on to make some art for covers of journals and books. So I was very lucky to have supportive supervisors during my PhD. They gave me the chance of creating artwork for journals that asked us to be in the cover, or for the cover of a book, which is here, that my PhD supervisor published. And eventually a friend asked me if I could make a cover for his PhD thesis, and I decided that I was going to do the same for my own. So you might have seen this little image in the previous slides. This is actually an aquaporin, and this is what I do. I try to understand the role of this little protein in cancer. And this is what I also did in my PhD, albeit in a different way. And this is the cover of my PhD thesis, but it's also a physical painting that is currently sitting in my PhD supervisor's office in Germany, where she works now. So I wanted something that spoke to me and that meant something. So everything in this painting actually means something, and I added some digital elements to it afterwards. So the background represents the universe, and the woman represents science. There are a few reasons why I chose a woman to represent science. So one, because I'm very passionate about equality and diversity in science. Number two, because at that point, I had only had female supervisors and mostly female colleagues. And number three, because the word science in Portuguese is a feminine word. So for me, science, if I picture science in my head, science is a woman. So of course I had to draw science as a woman. And science is holding my research with her right hand, which is the aquaporin. And then she's dripping some gold, which is actually some gold foil, from her left hand into an aquaporin. And this represents the compounds I used to test during my PhD because they all contained metals. It took a long time to come up with this concept. It took a long time to make, but it was such an amazing feeling when I finally had the printed copies in my hand. But then after my PhD, I moved to Cardiff and I worked for a while at the School of Chemistry, and I started hearing more about engagement, public engagement and outreach. But again, I still didn't have the chance to participate in much. It was only when I was awarded a Wellcome Trust fellowship to move to the School of Medicine that this fellowship came with some conditions attached. And one of the conditions was that I had to attend public engagement training. And I learned so much from this training and I was so excited about it, but I really struggled to come up with an idea. I couldn't think of anything. So I thought, what if I combine my hobbies with my research? And I have many hobbies, but three of my main hobbies are dancing, photography, and dressmaking. Dancing and photography would be a bit tricky, so I thought dressmaking might be a good idea. And I've been sewing my own clothes for about 4 years now, and there's a lovely sewing community online and full of people of all ages and professions. And if you watch the Great British Sewing Bee, you know that there's people of all ages and professions sewing nowadays. So my project then became about raising awareness for the importance of cancer screening and cancer research, and by using fashion as a way to communicate this science. And the premise of this was the fact that a lot of cancers are preventable, but people don't attend screenings. They don't know the screenings exist. And people in deprived areas have worse outcomes when they are diagnosed with cancer. They're also more likely consumers of fast fashion. And we all know the conditions in which textile workers work, and their exposure to harmful chemicals has been linked to cancer incidence. So the idea was just to bring this to a school and get the pupils, the young kids, to bring this information home and start discussions in the community. So I gathered a group of early career researchers and PhD students, all cancer researchers in a variety of different fields, a variety of different research. They wrote their lay summaries and helped me with the lab tour. So the students could come to our lab. It was a lot of fun. They got to meet a lot of scientists, actually do some small experiments in the lab. They particularly enjoyed pipetting colorful liquids into a plate. They made a competition out of it. And they took lots and lots of pictures. So they used these pictures together with the lay summaries, and the idea was for them to produce garments based on this. Now, there was a twist to it because I'm very passionate about sustainability. So I didn't want to have these things made out of plastic supermarket bags, but I also didn't want them to buy new materials. So they had to produce garments from scratch, but only using secondhand clothes or fabric waste. But then we had a big event planned, but COVID hit and everything was canceled. Students were home, the teacher was on maternity leave, and it became really impossible to run the project. But we were finally able to pick it up this year, and we've changed it slightly. So instead of making garments from scratch, they now embroidered garments, secondhand garments that they bought We are going to have a virtual exhibit. So if you want to follow this, you can just follow the link, scienceteaches.co.uk, or just scan the QR code. And I don't have the photos yet, but hopefully we will be doing this in the next few months. And while the project was stopped, I had to think of a way of getting this going. So I switched the focus a bit to mental health and crafting. So I really wanted to help, especially improve the mental health of medical students at Cardiff University. So I the project and turned it into an actual research project with public engagement. So now the focus became improving the mental health of medic undergraduate students through embroidery, but also trying to see if this helps connecting them to cancer research. So here I did the same as I did before, but now I produced some different booklets and I added information about the researchers, because for me, it's very important for these students to know where the research comes from, the faces behind them. I made some drawings. So we had 4 projects. So I did 4 drawings. And for example, this one is an actual picture of a research. So they will be embroidering actual cells that someone can see under the microscope. So we thought this would be very exciting. And I made these kits and they were posted to the students. We are currently gathering data from questionnaires and trying to see if they have finished or not the pieces. So it's all underway. So just keep an eye on the Science Teaches website. So when we have more information, we will let you know. And also we've decided to run this a second time, and we've expanded this to include medical students from Bangor University as well. Another thing I do is that together with a friend, Sarah, we are Native Scientist Coordinators for Wales. And Native Scientist is an initiative that exists in 9 countries and 30 cities. They offer 10 languages. And the premise is that to promote fair and quality science education. And this is aimed at children who have English as their second language. Because the founders of Native Scientists found that children who have English as a second language, either because they were born elsewhere or their parents speak a different language, so that's the main language at home, they do worse in school. And they thought maybe it's because they don't have role models. They've never seen a scientist. They've never met someone who's an academic. So they thought of bringing this to them and showing them that you can do science in other languages. You can do science in their own language. So because of COVID, we haven't managed to actually organize any workshops yet, because Wales has been under more restrictions actually than the rest of the UK at some point. We hope we can organize them soon, but if you're listening and you're a teacher and you're interested in supporting your students, just visit the website and see which ones you have close to yourself. And finally, I want to talk a bit about our latest project that actually has just been funded. And you can actually go online. So this is the website. You can just scan the QR code again. And this is called EV, the 3D extracellular vesicle. An extracellular vesicle is just a little bubble of fat that the cells excrete. So cells use this usually either to communicate with each other, to communicate with other parts of the body. They use them to send messages. This is basically what it looks like, and this is a little vesicles coming out of a cell. So a colleague created a 3D model of an extracellular vesicle that you can download for free online. It's all on the website. You can make this if you have a 3D printer. You can print this yourself at home. If you know someone who has a 3D printer, you can ask them, or you can just send it for printing somewhere. And we've also produced some accompanying materials. So if you want to just have some fun at home and learn a bit about science, you can get it printed and get our lay booklet that should be accessible to anyone. Teaches you a bit about each of these components, that each of these proteins and things that exist in extracellular vesicles. And we've also produced some non-lay materials. So if you're a science teacher and you want to actually use this as teaching materials in school or undergrad level, you can also use the non-lay version. And we have even a list of references that you can look for. And we hope to be able to offer this in other languages soon. So we have Welsh coming up soon, and hopefully a few other languages, because our group is quite international. So we have a few languages in the group, so we'll be translating these booklets. But our aim is to have this in, especially the lay version, to have this in a few different languages. So then it's accessible to anyone in the world, because those children in other countries might not speak English, of course. So if at some point you don't find the language you're interested in the website, or you'd like to help us translating this into another language, just get in touch, and everything's available on the website. And thanks to the Royal Society, and thank you everyone who's been involved in my crazy ideas for public engagement. And if you want to know more, if you want to get in touch, here's my Twitter, my DMs are open, and you can also just see more on my website. Thank you.
Fantastic. And wherever you are, everybody, I'd like to encourage you to ask questions for both of our speakers. Andreia, just before I bring Elizabeth back, I wanted to ask, you do so many different amazing things. How do you decide kind of what is a project that you need to do and what is a project that you don't need to do, or it's for somebody else to do? What's the thing that makes it an Andreia project?
It's very hard because I want to do it all.
Of course.
I don't know. So usually I just have I have these crazy ideas about things that are very visual. So I like everything that is visual. So give me like these booklets and drawings, and so anything that has that, I'd really like to be involved in. And if something I need to take pictures of, I'm also in. So anything
Fantastic.
That's very creative and involves any sort of art, I'm very much in.
Let's bring Elizabeth back so that I can ask you some of the questions that our audience have been sending in. Audience, do send in. You can send in questions for one speaker or both. You can send in questions about their science, questions about their engagement, questions about outreach and engagement generally. We are here for all of it. I wanted to start something now. What was I going to ask you both? Oh, yeah. I was going to ask you, you became biologists. At some point, you decided you're going to become a biologist. Is there any outreach engagement you remember from being a child that helped you think, oh, I'm going to be a biologist? What really affected you? Elizabeth, do you want to go first? Do you go first in the thing, or do you want to go first? Can't think of it.
I'll go first. I always say that I would, pay a lot of time on my that. I've always wanted to be a biologist ever since I was a kid. I can't remember not wanting to be. So I don't think anything particularly affected that. I think it's been not really, like, I never met a scientist until I was at kind of uni. Never thought it was an option. I thought that. So that's kind of motivation for me to do it. But also, me and my mum would go to like science museums so much, and I'd go fishing with my family and my dad, and so that, we've done it all. So stuff like that was really important to me. But there's been like the idea of outreach and being scientists and talking things didn't come into play until later. So I really want to bring that back in and give that to as many kids as possible.
Wow, it's amazing you made it through, and that the whole industry missed you so long. Thank you for being there now, for the people who were like you back then. And about you, what outreach engagement affected you at the time?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a scientist that had worked in science until I was I had no idea what I was signing up for. I think the first engagement event I remember was actually when I was year 10 or 11. We had primary school coming in, and we had to do some engagement and show them what you do in the lab. And it was a lot of fun. And I really remember a 6-year-old saying, when you do that experiment where you make iodine and you just explode everything, you have that elephant foam. I was saying that just because it produces oxygen, and he said, ew, that's disgusting. And right, they didn't know what oxygen is, they didn't know what oxygen is, they were disgusting. Great. That was the first time I realized actually like, this is something I'd like to do. But it wasn't something I've experienced myself as someone doing it to show me something. It was me doing.
Fantastic. I've got a question for you both from Bina, which I might have pronounced wrong, in which case I do apologise for Nottingham. I'm educated. That's I can do. So these awards are all about inspiring other biologists to get involved in outreach and engagement. So I want to ask both of you. I'll go to Andreia first. I want to ask you, what advice do you have for somebody who wants to get started doing this sort of hands-on science, but who hasn't done anything yet?
I'd say see what's around you. The way I started was I tried to see what projects I could hop on, just to get an idea of how it works. So I had colleagues already doing some engagement, maybe I could help them. So just see what's around you. If there's something you can already help me, just get a feel for it and see what opportunities are there. I couldn't do my engagement until I had like funding and got the money to do it. So for the opportunities you have and see what things you can participate in and start building it up.
I think that's really good advice.
So add on top, you can also have your own opportunity for it with stuff like social media, which is how I got into it. And I also found those opportunities, and I decided to where I was going to make it. You know, whatever your interest is, there is going to be a corner of social media, a corner of the internet that's full of people that will love that too. And actually, like learning more about food, that kind of thing, but start your own kind of engagement, and whether that's through YouTube or just doing challenges or doing that really helps you grow your network out, and all of a sudden opportunities pop up because you meet like-minded people, and everyone as well in science communication and publication is also very collaborative. You know, everyone always wants to work together, and so you know, people as well, whether in person or online, and just have fun with it. Whatever your heart desires, and just go after the weird corner of the science that you do because someone's interested.
Fantastic. And did anyone help you get involved? Because one of the things that I wanted to say to all the biologists out there is if you're looking at all this stuff and thinking, where do I start? The Royal Society of Biology and your own employer probably has people who can help you. Have you had help from those people?
Yeah, I've had help from like a broad range. I kind of started my own and reached out to people, some lovely people at the uni, like a public engagement team, Amy, who nominated me for this, and Heather, these people, they did like challenges, like submit a thesis, and I went to the public booking kind of thing, which was really handy. And then online, I did like FameLab again, that was really helpful, but like Sam Alford, who does like something called the Global Science Show, where it's like a free science show online on Twitter, but they were just really supportive, and they would advise and had like meetings during lockdown of like you could join in and have a chat, and all the certificates could come together and kind of have a chat about stuff. So it was really lovely. So it's nice to know that people out there supporting other people and helping.
Yeah, same for me. It was the publication officers at the university that were most helpful getting everything off the ground and teaching me how to do things and how to evaluate and monitor everything I did. So if you didn't have one, just push them to hire somebody because they need one.
Absolutely. I would say to you, hire someone who knows what they're doing. Just like a random scientist. I would want to give you a question from Laura Allen that you might not have an answer to, but we're going to find out because obviously these awards are part of the recognition of the quality of your work. But Laura says, what recognition from your work colleagues has been the most helpful to you? And I throw that open to whichever one of you can think of an answer first. It worked better when I just put you on the spot. So Elizabeth, you're
Okay. This might be controversial, but I've been surrounded in an engineering kind of environment, and because of that, a lot of it isn't looking here. So it's not really been a sort of a thing that's pushed. So I think advice of like when you can go for it, because I've seen a lot of people that have not been able to do it. Was helpful, so I kind of went off and kind of led that and kind of helped build confidence around a really good network and stuff. And it's really honestly a coincidence I joined because I really do think it's such a so necessary in the last couple of years. Such communication really well. And so that team over there, like public engagement, is really handy. But I didn't know about that. Like it's not something I knew about right at the start. So it's really good that we can now shout it out and that it's something that people need to know about. So I think sometimes you get in academia, you get a little bubble, you don't know the whole wide university out there of support for you. So I would recommend everyone just reaching out, and everyone is, I'm sure, really supportive.
Andreia, have you had any other recognition from your work colleagues or the workplace of the outreach engagement that you're doing?
I have to say my colleagues are my biggest champions. And if they see something I'm interested in, they'll let me know, and they're always championing everything I do. And in fact, before this, when my colleagues was just telling us, "Oh, what's up?" And I was coming here to talk, and everybody should come. Here's a link. So having colleagues very supportive and bosses were very supportive of you doing this. It's very important.
And you've hinted at this, I think, in your answer, but we have an anonymous question, which is, what do you think the Science Centre could do to further support researchers who want to do public engagement? So support boss, that's a good one. And there's something to be said for rewarding bosses for being supportive of this, rather than just rewarding people like you. And what else do you think the science sector could do?
Well, what I noticed with myself and a lot of people is the fact that we have full-time jobs and we don't have the time we need to do all the engagement. And even the universities is tricky because the university wants us to do this piece of engagement, but they forget that we also have all the other things to do, and we cannot just stop doing all those other things and just dedicate the whole day for engagement. So it's very tricky, and we don't have a good way around this. So there needs to be, I don't know, if some funding, some way of funding those hours for those researchers to do public engagement and not have to worry about the research behind and all the other duties they have that they could dedicate. I've seen a lot of people across my university asking about this because they realize they don't have the time, they can't afford to stop their own work or do it after hours because everybody has a life and kids and things to do.
Absolutely. And to some extent, it's about universities structuring your jobs so that the time you're doing this is valuable to your university career as doing research. That way, they don't have to give you extra time. They just have to say, well, it's time well used regardless. How about you, Elizabeth? What else does the science sector do to support you better?
Yeah, I mean, that was a massive, one of my work, I mean, I'm a student and all of my stuff has been on top of my research. It's been added on, which isn't ideal because it does reduce what you can do and stop the people doing it. I think and the biggest change is the shift in recognition, and it is important because papers are really important and writing and all of that stuff is put really high on the priority list. Really, I think that goes. It's really important that goes to the scientific community. Whereas I think science, it impacts every level of society, and my research is publicly funded, and a lot of people's research is publicly funded, and I think we owe it, and we should be communicating to the public, and our research is publicly led, and we need to recognise that the public become a body or a part, at least, of advising where science goes and what happens. And again, what the is key for that, build back that connection between scientists and society again.
Let's ask a really important question, and this is another anonymous question, which is for both of you. What's next? So, I mean, this is not the public engagement and outreach work. Things ahead of you. What are your plans for the future? I'm interested in short-term plans, like what's the next project? But I'm interested in big plans. If you're going to be, I don't know, president of the Society of Biology in 25 years and rebuild it entirely about outreach and engagement, I want to know. So let's start with Elizabeth. You're slightly nearer the beginning of your career than you can slightly big long-term plan. What are your plans for the future?
So, I mean, I just started part of the world at masters and like the university standards in this people over group, which is about different disciplines to connect to each other and then sharing that research with the public and really like making that impact, which is really cool. I love that my goal involves facilitating engagement, but from like a more renewable point of view, I start from that. I mean, I have loads of plans. I would love to obviously continue the video stuff, but I don't know, my PhD, I'd love to do and I'd also like to do like a science job, especially since that's coming back. But PhD life, they're new goals for my PhD.
Brilliant. When you do write your book, please make sure that it's on waterproof paper, that we can take it down, ideally like wire bound or something, so we can take it down to the seaside.
I will.
Right. But it's just, I plan to drop it in a rock pool at some point, and I don't want it to be ruined.
No, I want to advise. So many books have two more probably.
And do you have a big long-term public engagement aim for yourself or for biology, for marine biology?
Even bigger. Okay.
Dream big, Elizabeth.
Dream big. I would also have a massive dream big, like a wacky nature show, whether that's on a stage on stage or online, about the weirdness of the ocean that you can go on.
Fantastic.
Linking back, like, you know, all of the weird things, but when it's some weird stuff, it wasn't about all of the main stuff, the mammals and the dolphins and everything that I want to talk about.
It's always the awe and wonder of the majestic oceans.
Yeah, I want
actually
a story, bizarre thing that has teeth, the strongest material on the planet, about spicy. We don't have teeth in it. Stuff like that.
Incredible, wonderful, right? And what are your future public engagement plans? Your future public engagement plans? Everybody, of course, but the plans. What plans you?
Well, the last one I showed, though I showed the part that's already done, so we already have a website and we already have everything ready to go. But the fun thing we got actually recently is to go to schools, get the conversation going, and see how we can develop e-learning resources for schools. So digital things that schools can use to teach students about biology, about science, and about research, like creating 3D engaging illustrations, maybe virtual reality illustration, and then use this 3D cellular physical EV as like a starting point to get conversation going with schools. And actually, I've started thinking about biochemistry because I think biochemistry is a tricky subject, and even I don't like it. Why could it's like it? So I want to simplify biochemistry and make it something fun and something people like to look at and read about.
If any of you are working in your non-fiction authors agents, to get in touch with Andreia, her email is on her website. Brilliant. Thank you both hugely, partly for coming along today, being really entertaining, and just partly the great outreach stuff you've been doing. You're both, I think, inspirations to everybody. How long we've been in this game. It's been in this game a long time, longer than I will ever admit. Absolutely wonderful. Let's just end, I think, by giving one more massive round of applause to our winners. We'll let them take a proper on-screen bow as if they've just won this very wonderful and important award, and then we'll fade to black. Congratulations, winners.